Let's tank Coven of Shivarra in Antorus on Mythic difficulty. Now the great thing about this fight is everything's done in a set pattern, so the ads don't come out random, they always come out in the same pattern, which is great as it makes the fight a lot easier. And you pretty much just know what's going to be coming, so it makes this fight a lot easier, and depending on what kind of guild you are, you might even find this fight easier than you did while progressing the heroic fight of this. So let's have a look at the fight in general. Now, as on heroic and normal, the bosses become immune if you pull them too close together, so you need to make sure these are spread apart. Now for this strat, there's two ways you can handle it. You can either 3 tank it or 2 tank and then have 1 DPS. Just tank the shadow ad and hold it a little bit away, but you need to be mindful of the threat, especially as I found out with Thrash going ham, pulling aggro and just making the boss immune really does mess it up. So it's totally up to you guys what you want to do. I preferred the 2 tank 1 DPS, which I did with my newest guild that I've just joined. I found the damage to be a lot better and the strat's pretty easy, and you just get a little bit more damage out of the whole thing. So as I just mentioned, damage is really important on this because the goal here is to pretty much be like a soft enrage, and that's because we're going to be skipping the last 2 set of ads that are going to come. Now the ads come in the same order every time you're going to pull this fight. So firstly you're going to get the fire ads, which means you just have to stay out the center. And then you're going to get the shadow ads, which are like the walls which you need to CC. You can pre-assign people to this. We used Blood DKs, Mass Grips, Entangling Roots. We didn't really use pushbacks as people could get them knocked on. And they're pretty much going to one-shot DPS and healers. Pretty much 2 or 3 shot the tank, so you don't really want to be doing pushbacks. You want to be using like Entangles, Banishes, Snares and Grips, and then make the gaps for the players so the players know each time that these are going to be the gaps that they take every pull. Then after that, you get the electric ads, which you just spread out, you split your damage up a little bit, put a few melee on different ones just so they're not electrocuting each other, get as much boss cleave as you possibly can, tank the bosses on. And at this point, you're going to also get roughly an ad swap at this time, which will get rid of the fire ad and bring down the frost ad. And if you're using the 2 tank 1 DPS strat, this is where the tanks then split up off the fire boss and then take the ad separately, and the DPSer can just go to DPSing for the rest of the fight. Now after the electric ads, you're going to get the healing ads, which again, you want to split your DPS up. You want to kill 2 at a time, kill the first 2, then split off and kill the next 2. Now it's important that all your DPS realise they need to swap to these ads as soon as they spawn and kill them ASAP. You can bloodlust at this point if you really need to, but highly recommend not doing it and just doing it on the pull to get as much damage out as you possibly can. It all depends on how smart your DPS are, what type of DPS you're bringing in, are the cooldowns back up for example, and if you're even struggling to kill them. Now Warlocks are amazing at this. If you can bring more Warlocks the better, as it can damage multiple ads and do crazy amounts of damage. Now once these ads are dead, it's pretty much going to repeat again, so you're going to get the fire ads, wall ads, electric ads, and the healing ads. Now the second set time, you pretty much want to cleave down the fire ads, but you want to be like putting as much damage into the boss as possible. And then you're going to start ignoring ads. So obviously the walls you just handle the same way as you did before, just dodge. And then the next 2 set of ads, you're just ignoring them, and the healers need to start rotating cooldowns as the stacks get higher and higher, which make your damage that you're increasing taking more and more, which will slowly wipe you the longer they're up. So it's pretty much a race against the clock, and you need to burn the bosses down as quick as possible, ignoring these ads. Make sure you spread and just burn hard. And as you'll see in the video, you lose a lot of players doing this strat, but it's a very good strat to use. So now we've got the general strat out of the way, let's have a look at the actual bosses that are going to be up at certain times. Now on the pull, you're going to have the shadow ad up and the fire ad up. You want to put 2 tanks on the fire ad, and they can either swap at 2 stacks or 3 stacks. It's totally up to you guys of whatever you feel comfortable at. I preferred 2 stacks as you didn't really need to waste your cooldowns and stuff. And the shadow guy you can either have if you're using the 3 tank strat, put another tank on it, or you can just have a DPS tanking it a little bit more away so the tank's cleave isn't going to actually pull off. Now like on heroic, you need to be watching out for the spinny axe, as it just does a ton of damage and it's not really worth taking any ticks of it, as it's pretty much going to lower you and put more strain on the healers. As for the shadow guy, you really need to watch out for the shadow blades at all times. You should really have the tank or person, whoever is tanking the shadow blade person, always calling out when the shadow blades are going out, and if possible, calling out what direction they go into. And everyone needs to be aware of this, as they'll just put you into different mechanics, which will pretty much kill the players off, including you as a tank, depending on where you get punted to. Now, something to be aware of is the Storm of Darkness ability, as there's patches on the ground that are obviously safe zones, just like on heroic, and these are very important for your raiders to be getting into. And you are pretty much, as a tank, the less priority of getting into these, so you need to make sure you got a big cooldown up for every one of these in case you can't actually get into one. For multiple different reasons. For example, if you've got the lightning adds up, you are definitely the last priority, as your range are going to be like clumped together and hogging pretty much the whole of these safe zones up. If you've got the fire add, you don't want to be cleaving any of the DPS. And then there's also the fact that if you bring the two adds too close together, trying to get into one, you're going to make them immune and lose a lot of damage, which with this strat, damage is extremely important. So just make sure that you're being less priority, you're being very aware of where everyone is in your raid at this point, and you're just looking for the gaps to get into. Now that being said, if there is a gap for you to get into, definitely get into it and save that cooldown, as you may need them later in the fight for different situations. Now as I said earlier in the video, around the first set of lightning adds is where the first add or boss swap's going to occur, and now you're going to have the frost add up as well as the shadow add. Now this isn't too bad of a combo. At this point what you can do is, if you're two tanking it, you can separate the tanks, so you have one tank on the frost add and the other go to the shadow add. If you're free tanking it, it doesn't really matter. Now a good trick to note for the frost add is you can actually remove the slow debuff on the tank by using a freedom off a paladin on the tank. And this pretty much negates the whole light mechanic, so you don't really need to worry about it too much. Just get the tank to call for it whenever he needs to move the boss. And if you're tanking it, just make sure you're using a cooldown for the Frost Strike ability. Now at this point, healers are going to be focused on healing the Frost debuffs upon random players. So just be aware that you might not be getting as much healing as you was before, so make sure you're rotating cooldowns at certain points just to help the healers out a little bit. And also be aware of the Frost Orb that can spawn on you. Now for this, how we counteract it was we'd use like a Roar off myself, or we'd use like some kind of movement speed just to help players get out of these Frost Orb areas, and this would help the healers a great deal. Now slightly after the Frost ad comes out, the new ad's going to come out, which is like a green ad, and it has two abilities. The first one needs interrupting, so we put an interrupt rotation. This consisted of the tank who was currently tanking it, 2 melee, and then 2 range to back up. You pretty much need 3 consistent interrupts, but we used 4, and then we had ranged backups for whenever something had happened, like an interrupt was missed or melee had to run away from the boss for some reason. Stuff like that, so just be extra cautious with this interrupt, because if it gets off, it's going to kill players. Now the second ability that this boss is going to do is it's going to mark 2 players, and whatever line these 2 players make, it's going to send a big beam through the raid and pretty much kill any DPS that are in it. So we just had these 2 players go to the center and pretty much stand still, and the raid would adjust to these 2 players. You don't want these players to be jittering around or anything, as they may jitter and then just shoot the beam in an awkward position and kill a few players. So just make sure that they get to the center, everyone can see it's coming, and then the beam goes off. And that's pretty much it for this boss. Just make sure you're hitting the interrupts and you're getting the beam correct. Now that's pretty much it for the bosses in general. Just be aware that the adds will swap back when you go into the burn phase. Just be prepared to pick the adds up and have them separated enough to get cleave damage on, but not too close that they go immune. Because as I said, this is pretty much a burn strat, so you need to be pumping out as much damage into the bosses while killing the adds that you need to kill. Now apart from that guys, that's pretty much it for this guide. Please like, comment and subscribe for more videos. Also guys, I'm going to be starting to stream on Twitch very soon. I'll probably put a video out to let you guys know when this is going to happen. And also there'll be a few announcements for BFA coming up to do with myself and actually raiding and getting the content out a little bit quicker to you guys, which I'll go over more in the next few weeks. Thanks for watching my video guys, and I'll catch you on my next guide.